Welcome back to this class, and we had discussed in the last classes the principle of buoyancy at flotation. So in continuation with that, we are discussing a problem here. We have this block, say, of wood or maybe of any material which can float in water. The density of this is less than density of the fluid in which it has been partially submerged. Suppose this is water and total height of the block is say h, and its area of cross section is A, submerged in water. The density of this is rho L, or maybe any liquid, rho L is the density. So mass of block is M, and area of cross section of the block is, and we can connect it with a spring. The spring constant here is K. Now this is in equilibrium. So this much length of the block has been submerged in water or any other liquid, and density of block material is rho S, solid. Now the question is, a slight displacement is given. Suppose we take this as x direction. You can take x or y any direction. This is given a slight displacement in the x direction, downward direction. So it will execute simple harmonic motion. First of all, you should know that it will execute the simple harmonic motion, and obviously the vibrations will be the damped vibrations. So we have to find the frequency and time period of these natural vibrations. Obviously here we are assuming that the vibration amplitude remains continuous, but in actual this will be a sort of damped vibration because of the friction of the fluid. So let us see what happens. Now in this case, this block is in equilibrium. Equilibrium under what forces? If I draw the free body diagram of this block, what are the forces that are acting on it? Its weight in downward direction, buoyancy force or thrust force due to this much portion which displaces the liquid equal to this much volume which has been submerged in water. So buoyancy force due to this in upward direction, this much weight of liquid equal to the volume displaced by this submerged portion, and it is pulling the spring in downward direction as we give the displacement in downward direction. So the spring is trying to maintain its position, and there will be a force acting on the spring which is equal to K times the displacement. So spring force is acting in upward direction. So spring is pulling it in upward direction. Fs is the spring force. Now it is in equilibrium under these conditions. So now what happens? If I give it x displacement in this direction, its weight remains same, and the spring force will be K times the displacement. Initially it was in equilibrium under the displacement, natural displacement of the spring because of this weight and this buoyancy force. Now I give it an additional displacement x in downward direction. So what happens? The spring force now acting in upward direction is K times of x, where x is the displacement given to block in downward direction. So there is a change in spring force, additional spring force, which is equal to K into x. The weight remains same, and there is a change in buoyancy force. Why there is a change in buoyancy force? This is the initial position of the block submerged partially, and now suppose I give it x displacement in downward direction. So this displacement is x. So this much portion has been additionally submerged in water, so there will be a change in buoyancy force which is equal to the weight of the displaced liquid equal to this much volume of the additional volume of the block. So under these forces, the spring force, the additional spring force and the additional buoyancy force, these two forces will try to bring it in upward direction or to restore their position. So this is called the disturbing force. The negative of this will be the disturbing force. So this will execute a simple harmonic motion, that is the restoring force. This plus this additional buoyancy force is opposite to the displacement, direction of displacement. So F is proportional to minus x, so it will execute the simple harmonic motion. Now we can write down the equation, that is mass into displacement, mass into acceleration, m d2x by dt square, m is the mass of the block, equal to the disturbing force. So disturbing force minus Fd, the disturbing. M is the mass of the block and this is equal to volume into density of the block. Volume is area of cross section multiplied by its height into density. And the disturbing force is given by the spring force K into X plus the additional buoyancy force due to this much portion which was displaced additionally into the liquid, and this is equal to the weight of the liquid displaced by this much volume. So this volume is A into X, this volume is given by A into X. So volume multiplied by density of the liquid, so this is the additional force. This is the mass of the liquid multiplied by G, weight of the liquid. So I can write the equation as A H rho S d2x by dt square equal to minus of K plus A rho L G into X. So this gives you d2x by dt square equal to divided by AH rho S into X. So this term is called omega n square, which is the omega n is the natural frequency of vibration. So we can write that the natural frequency of vibration, which is 2 pi f or 2 pi by t, equal to under root of k plus a rho L G divided by a h rho L. From this we can write down the expression for time period or frequency. So the time period of vibration is given by T is 2 pi under root a h rho S divided by k plus a rho L into G. Now there can be some change in the question. Suppose I fit this spring at the bottom. In place of top, the spring is here. So if I give it some displacement in downward direction like this, in that case buoyancy force, as you know, is always acting in upward direction. And the weight is in downward direction, same here. So additional buoyancy force will be acting in upward direction, and the spring will be compressed in that case. So the spring will apply the force again in upward direction. So the problem will remain same. We can have, in place of one spring, we can have two springs, one here, one here. So if I give it displacement in same way, downward direction, one spring will be elongated. Suppose K1 is the coefficient of that spring constant, and other spring will be compressed. So this will pull the block in upward direction and this will push the block in upward direction. In that case, the total force, spring force will be K1 into X in upward direction, K2 into X in upward direction. So in place of K, I will have here K1 X plus K2X. Otherwise the problem remains same. So you can note it down. Now again we have this type of problem in which we have a U tube. It is filled with a liquid of density rho. Area of cross section of the tube is A. Initially, this is the level of the liquid filled. It is in equilibrium. This is the level. Now, if I apply a force or a pressure like this, then the liquid descends in the left limb and ascends or rises in the right limb. Because the mass displaced here is same as the mass displaced here, area of cross section is same on both sides, so the fall or descent of the liquid is x will be equal to the rise or ascent of the liquid in the right limb, same. So here it is x, here it will also be x. But remember, this is when the cross section area of the tube is same on both sides and the limbs of the tube are parallel and not inclined. So now we have to find the frequency of the natural vibrations executed by the liquid in this case. So why it will execute the simple harmonic motion? You know that the liquid which goes down here is x and goes up here is also x. Now in this condition, up to this level, the pressure on this side on this side is same. So what is the disturbing force? Disturbing force is the weight of this column of liquid of height x plus x, which is equal to 2x. And this weight will push the liquid in the right column in downward direction. So similarly, it will rise here. And then again here, it will be x, x, 2x, it will push it down. So this will keep on going in continuation. And as you know, we are assuming it to be ideal case, that is undamped vibration. Actually, this is the case of damped vibration. So the disturbing force is, this is the disturbing force down the direction, the weight of this column, and displacement is in this direction. I am talking about the initial displacement. So it is opposite to the disturbing, the opposite to the displacement. F is proportional to minus x. So it is simple harmonic motion. Let us find its time period. Mass of the liquid which is contained in the tube. Mass of total liquid. L is the length of the liquid column filled initially when this was the level L. So this is V into G. V is the volume of the liquid. Area of cross section of the tube into L. This is mass, and weight of this liquid is A L rho into G. Now the disturbing force Ft is equal to weight of 2x length of the column. This x plus additional x A is the area of cross section. So this is A into 2x. This is the volume, density of the liquid multiplied by G. Now writing the equation of motion, m d2x by dt square equal to the disturbing force. So I can write that A L rho d2x by dt square equal to minus of 2ax rho, or d2x by dt square equal to minus 2g divided by L. A into rho cancel out, multiplied by x. And comparing with the standard equation, this is minus omega n square into x. So omega n is under root of 2g by L, which is 2 pi by t. The time period of oscillation is 2 pi under root of L by. This is the answer. So note it down. Now let us discuss the continuity equation, which is nothing but the equation of conservation of mass. So we know that the mass of the fluid entering in a system, this is a system, maybe a pipe through which the fluid is entering here. Area of cross section of the fluid is A1 flow and velocity of the flow is V1. ds1 is the length of this small element, and here these quantities are A2, ds2 and V2. This is a streamline, and we define the streamline as an imaginary curve or line, the tangent to which at a point gives the direction of motion of the fluid at that point. And these are the possible shapes of the streamline: curves, converging, diverging or parallel lines. Line can also converge or diverge at one point, and two streamlines never cross each other because at the point where they cross there are two directions possible of the fluid flow. Practically this is not possible. So they never cross each other. Now let us take this element. There is no storage of the fluid inside. So the fluid entering is equal to the fluid exiting at the same time. So the mass of fluid entering here is volume into density of the fluid. This is the density of the fluid. And volume of the fluid is area of cross section multiplied by ds1. A1 into ds1. Suppose this is the cross section of the fluid. This area is A1 and this is ds1 and V1 is the velocity. So I can write that V1 is equal to distance travelled by the fluid in a time dt, and similarly V2 is ds2 divided by dt. So the volume of the fluid dV1 contained in a small element at any time, this is equal to A1 multiplied by ds1, and ds1 is V1 into dt. So this is A1 V1 dt, and mass of this element is A1 V1 dt, volume into density. Similarly at exit I can write the equation. So conservation of mass is mass entering is equal to mass going out at any time. There is no storage of mass in the system. Now we can write A1 V1 rho dt equal to A2 V2 rho. So this gives A1 V1 equal to A2 V2. This is the equation of continuity for one-dimensional steady flow. Fluid is ideal, that is incompressible fluid without any storage. If the fluid is compressible, then we can write where density is different at the two ends, and this is the actual condition. So this is the equation of continuity for the fluid flowing through a small element, ideal case, ideal fluid. So this is all, you can note it down. Now we are discussing one of the most important topic of the equation of fluid mechanics, which is Bernoulli's equation, which is called the equation of conservation of energy. Many other equations which are practically developed based on this equation. This equation is applicable to ideal fluids. An ideal fluid, you know, which is having zero viscosity, non-viscous, and which is totally incompressible. Density always remains. So remember always, this is applicable for ideal fluids. For actual fluids, we apply the equation, but with some modification. That is called the Euler's equation. But that here we are not considering. That is beyond the scope of this subject. But you should know this. Now again, let us take a small fluid element. This shows the path of the fluid flow. So we are having a small fluid element at inlet. the mass at inlet, the m1 is equal to the mass of the fluid at exit, which is equal to density into volume of the flow at inlet and exit. So dV1, the volume of the fluid which is present in this small element at any time, this is equal to area into velocity. We discussed this in our discussion in continuity equation, so I am writing it straight away. Similarly, the mass present in this element is density into this volume, which is A2 multiplied by velocity V2. And the pressure of the fluid here is P1. This fluid is entering, so exerting the pressure on the fluid present in this element or beyond this element, this fluid present here, applying a pressure on the fluid on the other side in this direction. So this is the direction. And when the fluid comes out of this, it is applying the pressure on the outside fluid. So we have to consider the force acting or the pressure acting on the fluid in this element. That will be in this direction as a reaction force or pressure applied by the outside fluid on this element. So it will be different. Now here we have to apply the conservation of energy. So let us take this as the reference surface to measure the potential energy of the fluid. From the center line or the streamline of the fluid, the height of the center of mass of this cross section at inlet is h1 and at outlet it is h2. So there is a change in potential energy depending upon the fluid is rising or it is being lowered. So the change in potential energy of the fluid, dU, we know that this is equal to dm into g h2 minus h1. Change in kinetic energy, as we know that according to continuity equation for incompressible fluid, A1 V1 equal to A2 V2. So if the flow path is like this, area of cross section A1, A2, velocity is V1, velocity is V2. Now you can see that here area of cross section is more than at section 1. So if A2 is more, then to keep this quantity constant, the velocity will decrease. If area is more, velocity is less. And this quantity is having a unit of meter cube per unit time, meter cube per second. This is called discharge. Discharge, volume flow rate per unit time. If you multiply this by density, you will get this as kilogram per second, the mass flowing per unit time. So the velocity changes as the area cross section changes. Change in kinetic energy, half m v2 square minus v1. So I can write this dm can be replaced as rho into dv. Let me write here as rho dv. Similarly here rho dv. Now when there is a change in energy, the potential energy, kinetic energy, they are changing, increasing or decreasing. Suppose they are increasing. Then where does this increase or decrease come from? If work is done on the fluid, then these energies will increase. And if his work is being done by the fluid, energies will decrease. So that net work done must be equal to net change in the energy, as you have studied in thermodynamics. This is a general rule. Work is converted into energy, and here there is no loss of energy. In actual fluid, there are losses of energy. So net work done is equal to net change in the energy, depending on whether work is done by the fluid or on the fluid. So dW is the work done. Now, work done, as you know, this is force multiplied by displacement. Dx is the displacement. Force is pressure, area, displacement. If I take this small element, the displacement is dx area of cross section is A, P is the pressure applied, then A into dx will give you the volume of the fluid contained here, which is dV. So this is P into. So at inlet, the work is done by the fluid, whereas in this tries to enter, whereas at exit, this is being pulled by the fluid, pushed by the fluid inside, and this also tries to push the fluid which is present here. So, as you know that the pressure applied by the fluid at the outside on this small element is in opposite direction. So this is P1 dV minus P2 into dV. dV is the volume of the fluid, this and this which are same. P1 minus P2. Now we know that dW is equal to du plus dk. Applying this, I can write plus half rho dV V2 square minus. So this gives an equation P1 plus half rho V1 square plus rho G H1 equal to or sum of these terms during the flow of an ideal flow fluid. This is constant. This is the Bernoulli's. This shows the pressure, and this term shows the kinetic energy. This term shows the potential energy. So this is called the Bernoulli's equation for ideal fluids. You can note it down. So we were discussing the Bernoulli equation, and this is the Bernoulli equation. Sum of these three terms is constant for an ideal fluid which is non-viscous and incomplete. Now there is a very important question. What does these three terms represent? These terms represent the energy of a flowing fluid, sum of three types of its energies, or you can say sum of energy per unit of mass, per unit of volume. So P is called pressure energy, this is called kinetic energy, this is called potential energy of the fluid. Now, how we have written this? Suppose I have a fluid flowing through this. The length of the flow is L, area of cross section is A. So the volume of the fluid which is flowing through this at any time is A into L. And we know that work done by the fluid, that is equal to pressure into change in volume, PdV. So work done is P into A into L, pressure into volume. At any moment in flowing through this, pressure into volume. And we have to write the expression for the pressure energy. So work done per unit of volume, P into AL divided by volume. So this is equal to P. So this term shows the pressure energy, work done by the, because of the pressure of the fluid per unit of volume, A into L. Similarly, kinetic energy is half mv square, and per unit of volume, m by v, half rho into potential energy per unit of volume, mgh divided by v. So this is rho g into h. So this is how we arrive at this equation. We can write this equation in another form. What is rho into G? We have discussed in the beginning that specific weight of a fluid W is weight per unit volume, which is rho into G, with the unit Newton per meter cube. So if I divide this equation by this term rho into G, then the equation becomes E by rho G plus V square by 2G plus H equal to constant. Now this seems to be more reasonable, as all these three terms, they are having same unit of meter. So this is called pressure head. This is called kinetic energy head. And this is called gravitational potential energy head. By head we mean to say, suppose if the fluid is flowing through this tube and I make an opening here, this is a vertical tube, the fluid is flowing like this, and suddenly a valve here is opened or the fluid is stopped from flowing. So because of this energy, this is having kinetic energy half rho into V square per unit of volume. So because of this, here the kinetic energy is becoming zero suddenly. So as a result, because pressure here and here is atmospheric, if this is open to atmosphere, this is open to atmosphere, to compensate this, the fluid will rise to some height. And this height is h, so I can write half rho V square is equal to h. Sorry, mg into h. Potential energy. Kinetic energy is converted into potential energy of the fluid. So this is another way to write the Bernoulli's equation. So you can note it down.